news on YourIowa.com is brought to you by the Commission on U.S. Territories, striving for equal representation around the globe, and by Keep Iowa First, committed to keeping the Iowa caucuses the first in the nation contest in selecting the presidency of the United States. And now, here's your host, Brent Roske.
Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday. It's going to be fairly warm today. We've actually got Emmy-winning meteorologist Jason Parkin is going to do a forecast for us today. Very excited about that. So many thanks to Jason. We've got a huge show lined up for you today. Take a look at this, folks. Nature of the Dream is a new show, a new film at the Des Moines Playhouse. We have the filmmakers here with us today. So incredibly grateful for that. And you see up here on the screen some of the that's from their teaser trailer that they're running for that. So incredibly grateful that they're on the program today. Later in the week, there's Gina Belafonte and her father, Harry Belafonte. I've been friends with Gina for many years, and she is kind enough to be on this program. We will be running that probably Friday, but they run a group called Sankofa.org, have worked with some of the largest artists in the world, and we're going to talk all about that and many other things. So a huge thanks to Gina for being on the program. Also, this project is very exciting. So Peter Gabriel had a big hit song called Biko about the apartheid activist Stephen Biko. They just have re-released it with a brand new version of it, an international version. Musicians from all over the world, Yo-Yo Ma, the Cape Town Singers. It's an incredible new version of that. And we're going to have the producer of that on this program. We're going to be taping that interview and running that later in the week as well. So great stuff. And then tomorrow, so if you've been watching this program, you've seen segments from the United Nations High Commission on Refugees. Tomorrow, we are going to have their head of office for Colombia. She was actually born and raised in Ohio, and we're going to have her on live on the program tomorrow morning. So just really excited and grateful for the folks we're having on. And then finally, on the 1st, there's a state representative, Ross Wilburn. I got to know Mr. Wilburn. We were candidates in a race a couple of years back, but he is now a state representative. He has just been elected to be the new chair of the Iowa Democrat Party, and there he is with our Vice President Kamala Harris. He was a senior advisor on the Kamala Harris campaign. Mr. Wilburn will be on this program live on the 1st, on March 1st. So a huge thanks to him. We're going to take a quick commercial break, just 30 seconds for the School of Rock, and then be right back with the folks from Nature of the Dream. We'll be right back.
School of Rock is now in session in Iowa, and we're ready to help make musicians. In our patented performance-based program, students learn music in one-on-one lessons, then have band practice in a fun, safe learning environment, all leading up to their big show. Guitar, bass, piano, drums, and vocals, our local professionals teach the skills you need to be a rock star. Come check us out and get a free lesson with no strings attached. Locations in West Des Moines and Marion. Visit schoolofrock.com to learn more and start your musical journey today.
Well, there they are. Thank you so much for being on the program. We have Miriam Randolph and Kiara Lewis from Nature of the Dream. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
So now there is a fascinating story here. So you were in California, you're back in Iowa. Before we talk about the show, talk about, what brings you to our fair state. And I lived in California for almost 2 decades. So excited to learn about your journey.
My partner, he's from Des Moines, and we were, pretty locked up in California, and we were dealing with the fires still in October. And so we decided to come out to Iowa, and we had a connection with the Playhouse, and we ended up just pitching them Nature of the Dream.
So Nature of the Dream, it's the biggest deal in town right now. Everyone's talking about it. And there is a video from your teaser trailer that you've got going on. Why don't you tell folks about Nature of the Dream?
Yeah, Nature of the Dream is about exploring Black identity in Iowa. And it's about how we have to maintain our Blackness and how we have to manifest our dreams, and whether that's manifesting the American dream and whether that applies to us or doesn't apply to us, and manifesting our personal dreams and what that looks like.
And so this is I guess you could say a non-traditional show at the Playhouse, because it's actually a motion picture and they're going to be showing it, or how does it work?
It's devised. It started off as a play, but then we decided that with COVID, it would be easier to turn it into a film. And with that, it really excited us because there's a lot of very interesting angles we could do with the camera to make it very stylized. So that's the approach we went. And it started off with no script. It was a very collaborative process. Me and the cast and the crew all worked together to create this thing. And we wanted to make sure it's a safe space for Black creatives to voice out anything they wanted to say or anything they wanted to express out to the world. So it's going to be streamed through the Playhouse's VOD program on Patron Manager.
Well, kudos to you, because that is such a creative way to get the show out there. And I love, such dramatic lighting we're seeing here. And I love the style of this. And we're actually going to show this teaser trailer here in just a little bit. And folks, I'm going to pull up a graphic here. You can buy tickets right now at dmplayhouse.org. And why don't you tell people about the ticket structure? It's a little different than other shows.
Kiera, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so the ticket structure, it's kind of pay as you want. So they start off at $5, and the most it goes up to is $100. Our donations will be going to Urban Dreams, which is a nonprofit who does a lot of work in Iowa with the Black community. So yeah, that's kind of how the ticket structure is set up right now.
Urban Dreams, a great organization. Mr. Knox up there, it's just a great group. I've been up there many times. I just saw him a little while ago, but that's fantastic. And working with the Playhouse. So you said you had an existing relationship with them. How do you know the folks at the Playhouse?
My partner's mom babysits Katie Merriman's son, and who's a big favorite, and he's our best friend. And she gave my contact information to Katie, and she was like, what do you want to do? And I just said, hey, I have this project in mind. And I should also say it's my production company's project, and the Des Moines Playhouse gave us production assistance. So we're just basically collaborating together. And it started out just me wanting to hang out and just hang out some lights or just do any help they needed. But then she was like, no, I'm really interested in what kind of projects you want to do. And I pitched them a devised work about uplifting Black voices.
You just said it, they're the babysitter for such and such. I love how this town works sometimes. So coming from Los Angeles, now in Des Moines, what are your thoughts? What grade do you give our little town here?
Oh God. I don't know. I've lived in Iowa. I went to University of Iowa. So I went to Iowa City. I like Des Moines, and I will leave it at that if that's okay.
Well, I'm so grateful you folks are on the show today, and we're going to show the trailer for Nature of the Dream. And again, folks, you can go to dmplayhouse.org right now and buy your tickets. And when does it actually start streaming? When will people be able to watch it?
Tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Tomorrow at 7. And then is it, because it's VOD then, is it streaming live, meaning you have to start it at 7, or how does that work?
I think once you purchase a ticket, you have time to stream it till midnight. But it streams all the way to March 7th. So through that time, I think you can watch it anytime. But we're basically just having a little premiere on Thursday, which starts at 7. And then after that, you can stream it whenever you like.
Well, thanks again for being on the show. And folks, let's take a look at the teaser trailer for Nature of the Dream.
Black is to God as to God is a woman.
Black is revolutionary. Everybody wants to be her until it's time to be her.
When I hear the word black, I think power and strength.
Black is there. It's there, and it is infinite.
Black is the ability to exist in such a way that your mere presence can bring a person to the ground.
Black, noir, negro, negro, negressa, ebony, Africa, Jamestown, legal restrictions, slavery, black cooking, sense of style.
Beautiful. Hurt. I'm not sure what black is, honestly. You can't put it into words sometimes.
Black is the color I wear every day.
Black beauty is incredible.
Black is the light that absorbs all eternity.
It's there every time we close our eyes.
Black is a blessing in itself. It is something I carry and live through every day.
Black is having gone through everything and always finding a way to keep going.
Black is transformative. Black transcends through the past, present, and the future.
Black is universal hurt, perseverance, and strength.
Black is elegance, bold, sexy, bootylicious, gospel, soul, jazz, amazing, smooth.
Black is more than who we are. There is love in that word. Black is love. Black is love.
Huge thanks to the production team behind Nature of the Dream for being on the show today. Folks, support local artists, so I encourage you to buy tickets to the show. I definitely plan on doing so myself. So now let's jump into something a little different, and then we have Lisa Marks, the UK author of the smash hit Ryan Is Ready For You Now. She's going to be up in just a second. But today, excited to have, for the first time ever, Emmy-winning meteorologist Jason Parkin. So the big TV stations around here have had Jason on throughout the years. He's now in the mortgage business, which is exciting because he was available to do some forecasts for us. So let's take a look at Jason's forecast.
Well, good morning, everybody. I hope your day's off to a good start. Weather brought to you this morning by Clear Mortgage. And my name is Jason Parkin. I'm a loan officer there and Director of Business Development. If you're in the market for a refinance or purchase, would love to help you out. Rates are, of course, near historic lows. They've gone back up a bit, but still a good time to look at those things. And now let's take a look at the forecast for today. It is going to be a little bit cooler than the wonderful temperatures we saw yesterday because the winds have shifted around to the northwest. So we're looking at a temperature at around noon of 36 degrees, at around 38 degrees by 4 o'clock today. Still very nice compared to, obviously, what we saw during the past week. In your 7-day forecast, fairly quiet, and we stay fairly mild out there with these temperatures. 38 on Thursday, 44 Friday, and 45 Saturday. So a couple of nice days there as the snow melt continues. We do have a chance for what appears to be a little bit of rain, a little bit of snow. Doesn't look to be heavy in either case, Sunday into Monday. And then behind that, we see kind of a cool down in Monday's forecast. High temperature there around 33 degrees. On Tuesday, another chance for some mixed precipitation. Forecast there calls for a high temperature near 38 degrees. Hope you have a good day.
And there she is, all the way from the United Kingdom. Lisa Marks, how are you today?
I'm fine. I'm ready. I am definitely ready. Here we are. Couldn't be more ready.
You know, I love it. Sometimes if it just popped back from videos and I'm like this, and people well, it was actually Prince Michael of Sealand, and he said, "Are you praying?" And I said, "No, I'm sending a text."
Just doing a little pre-meditation. Good to see you.
It's been too long. So you weren't here last week, and the show suffered for it, and so happy to have you back on.
I will never recover. It's really nice to be here, and I'm glad to hear it's getting a bit warmer where you are because it is here too. Although I've just been told I can't get a haircut now until the 12th of April. 12th of April.
What?
So watch out for the Unabomber style coming in big time between now and then, I'm sure. Some kind of...
Wait, why can't you get a haircut till middle of April?
Because we're still in lockdown. Remember that?
Yeah. See, you know, I live in Iowa. We don't do that so much here.
I'm just going to have to go into the kitchen and see what I can find. I'll just kind of slice my hair off with a carving knife or something. I don't know. We'll try some home remedy. Anyway.
So you like salons are shut down for a month and a half?
They've been shut down since the 18th of December or something like that, before Christmas. Yeah. They've just rolled out this new we've got this roadmap to freedom, or it's probably not called that. In my head it is, where there's certain dates that we can now start doing things from. So if we're lucky, I might be able to meet somebody in the park in about a month's time to have a coffee with or something. Yeah, it's been pretty brutal here. So, yeah.
You know, there's certainly a lot of opinions all over the map on, you know, how we're handling the pandemic and what's working and what isn't working. And our governor here, Governor Kim Reynolds, has enacted one of the more lax reactions to it. And, you know, my opinions of that are, you know, that's not important for this program. But the reality of life means that, you know, it's pretty much up to Iowans to decide what you're comfortable with. And, you know, that has afforded us, you know, we definitely put on masks and we get as safe as we can, but things are open here, you know. So how interesting is that? And you're in a fairly small village there. I mean, is there a big downtown in Leon-C, or what is it like there?
Yeah, it's not so much that. It's not, well, we're next to a few big towns, but it's I think just because the UK is quite populated, and this is a populated part of the UK, and there are a lot of big cities, you know, not just London. There's Manchester, Cardiff, Birmingham, Sheffield, Newcastle, you know, all these big places. And then, of course, you've got Scotland, Ireland and Wales as well. And, you know, they opened up a little bit for Christmas, and then a month later, the figures were really, really high. So, you know, they've just been really cautious, which is good. But actually our vaccine rollout apparently is one of the best in the world, so I hear, so we've got that right. So let's see what happens. And that's all I'm saying about that, Brent.
And well, you know what's really interesting? You folks obviously have the NHS, the National Health Service, and so your health service is paid for through taxes and government, et cetera. Ours is paid for right out of your pocket. Now you can get insurance through your work or but it's interesting how the approaches are so different, because there's a business model here that if there's more people in the hospital does better. But to your folks, you have a limited amount of money you're working with. So interesting. I'm a big fan of the NHS, but I think that influences the different policy and, you know, the business of people's health.
Tiny little margin, you know, if they get overwhelmed by even a small percentage, then everything grinds to a halt, from what I can tell. So I think that's what the strategy has been, is to not overwhelm the NHS, which at times has been, you know, really quite overwhelmed. But I mean, you know, on the plus side, I've had a friend whose child broke his arm quite recently and went to A&E, which is your ER, and it was completely empty and was seen in and out in 45 minutes and at no cost, you know, obviously. So as long as you stay away from the COVID wards, you're doing okay at the moment. But well, things are on the up, we think. Yeah.
How are you doing? I see your photos from your walks by the sea. They're always lovely. I think we'll have a photography show one of these weeks you're on, and I'll show you some of the amazing photos you've been taking. But what's life like there in Leon-C right now? Yeah,
it's pretty quiet. It's, you know, that's what people are doing. That's all you can do is walk. So there's nothing non-essential open. So, you know, everyone's like, what are you doing this weekend? Well, I'm going for another walk. And what are you doing this afternoon? I was thinking of going for a walk. You know, I started calling it another stupid walk, because much as I love walking, there was only so many round the blocks I can do. And I know all the side roads and, you know, all the neighbors' cats. And it's just, you know, it gets to that point where you just think, I really, really would like to go out for lunch with my friends now, or do something other than just walk. And, but having said that, I feel very fit. It's fit, so that's good. Yeah. So, but I'm really lucky because we're by the sea here, and it's just really nice. You know, the mornings getting lighter, and the sunsets and sunrises are more beautiful. So days are getting longer. We're definitely heading in the right direction.
Well, I am, just so grateful for you to be on the program. Lisa was actually our first guest on this show on January 1st. And when I started that day, looking out the window, it was just pitch black. There was no light at all. I can actually see outside now. So the days are getting longer here too. But what's so great, I love telling people, oh, what time does your show air? I said, it's at 1 p.m. GMT. And they say, what? We're Americans. We don't understand. People don't know what that is, and then I have to explain it to them. But because this is a pretty good time for you, right? You have some lunch, and then you're on the show, right? Like this is prime time for you.
This is my little lunch break here. This is great. Yeah.
I love it.
Cup of coffee, right. Out of reach, so that was useless. But getting that yeah.
All right, well, let's get to the business at hand. Lisa is our resident entertainment expert. Not only did she write the book right there on the shelf, Ryan is ready for you now, which if you haven't bought a copy, I encourage you to do so. She's our streaming media expert. So this week, a couple picks from Lisa. What's up first?
Well, number one, straight in with It's a Sin on HBO Max. So this, I think, launched on the platform last Thursday, and it's a 5-parter, and it's a series that has shown here on Channel 4 first, written by Russell T Davies, who was a showrunner for Doctor Who and Torchwood, which you would know, and Queer as Folk, which you may or may not know, which was a series about a group of young gay men. And this really is takes a 10-year period from 1981 to 1991 and looks again in some sort of autobiographical way, as far as I can tell, of Russell's life in London as a young gay man living through the HIV and AIDS crisis. And, what's interesting about this is that it's such recent history, but it's 30 years ago, but it's recent history. And these are stories now that are just beginning to be told. So it's a dramatized version of a group of young guys and their girlfriend Jill, who lived through this crisis, and it certainly doesn't end well for everyone. And actually, what it does is it looks at the lives of these young men who are just carefree and living their lives in their early 20s, and just being their best selves, and then suddenly finding themselves in the middle of this horrific period in history where suddenly the gay population was maligned, and there were sort of phrases banded around like gay plague, all sorts of things, and lots of misinformation about HIV and AIDS generally. And it just looks at that and how it affects their lives, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's so well done. It's just such a lovely observation of life around that time, certainly in terms of look and feel, but also the subject matter is incredibly emotive, and brilliant sort of lead role from a guy called Ollie Alexander, who's actually a singer in a band called Years and Years, but he plays the lead character, who's a guy called Richie Tozer, and it centers around him and his friends. And it's just extremely interesting. And I was just thinking, because I remember back in the 80s, I remember the infomercials or the commercials for, AIDS and, all the big shocking news around it. And the fact, that suddenly it was on the news and you didn't know what this new disease was. And it was, lots of scaremongering. And then to actually sort of get some sense of what it was like for the men at the heart of this is actually heartbreaking, to be honest, and it's recent. It's 20 to 30 years ago, this is something that's affected a lot of people's lives. But the way Russell has done it, and he said, he poured his heart into it, and he's never done as much research for anything either. He wanted to get it right, even though he lived it. It just creates this sort of incredibly believable, heartbreaking world and journey, and you really invest in these characters because it's based in so much truth. So I would definitely tune into that if you've got HBO Max. It's really worth seeing. So and I would say if you don't have that, but you do have Amazon Prime, there's a documentary on there called it's called 5B, not Ward 5B, but it's a documentary about the first AIDS ward unit in San Francisco General Hospital in 1983, and it tells the perspective from the patients and the caregivers, and that's a really, really interesting documentary about the same thing.
What and I've only seen a few clips of It's a Sin. I've got to get the HBO Max because you're talking about shows on HBO Max. I've got to do it. We got a documentary, and one of the filmmakers is going to be on next week, so I will be watching It's a Sin. But what I love about the fact that it's an HBO program and the clips I've seen, obviously the production value just looks amazing. And as far as the storyline, I watched a couple of the scenes where they were like, oh, this can't be a real disease. If it was, it would be all over the news. And then they show the news and nothing's on it, And what, obviously we can look at parallels as to what's going on right now. If you think back in last, November, December, when you started hearing this little thing, this weird disease in different parts of the country and now we have a worldwide pandemic. So it's, I thought that was really interesting in how the information and what do you believe and what don't you believe in. And yeah, the early 80s, this is not ancient history by any means. So yeah, it's a vital education. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I love that it's the Pet Shop Boys. It's a Sin is the theme of it, which in itself is interesting. I mean, you watch that video for It's a Sin, all my life, it's been a shame. And what the whole show is obviously about young men also deciding to come out to their family, their friends, moving to London and having the time of their life, and then get stopped in their tracks. So it looks like a fantastic project.
Yeah, the soundtrack actually is amazing. I have to say, they picked some great songs. So it's just a wonderful production, and these are stories that need to be told now. So, and you're right, great parallels to where we are in 2021. So very timely.
Would you believe I got the year wrong last week? I wrote 2020. It got so ingrained. I didn't write 2021.
Yeah, I understand. I'm like, where are we? I don't even know what day of the week it is. It's only you emailing me. I'm like, it's a Wednesday. Right, great. Here we go.
I've been having, I do this program Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. And obviously to keep the churn going and the live element of it, it's a bit much to keep straight. But yeah, plus, you don't have those little markers. Oh, it's the weekend. That looks, well, what is it? The comedian Trevor Noah on the Daily Show, he goes, oh, hey, it's the weekend, walks to couch. Here I am because it's the weekend now.
I know. I was telling someone last night, I said, just the act now of pulling back the duvet to go to bed just feels like I've just got up. There's sort of nothing in between everything. It's such a Groundhog Day at the moment, especially, as I mentioned, with nothing really going on here for so long. So it's just, everything just seems, I'm hearing, I Got You Babe by Sonny and Cher, and so every time I do everything. Yeah, but apart from Bill Murray's not here though. Bill, where are you?
As far as you know. Have you seen Palm Springs, the movie?
I haven't. Do you know what? I was thinking that we may talk about that next week.
Yeah, please watch it. I loved it. It was fantastic. Yeah. I'm trying to get the writer on this program actually, but they're being squirrely because they're up for a bunch of big awards. But it's a fantastic film. It is the new it's the new Groundhog Day. It's fantastic. So watch that. We'll talk about it next week. But you had a different one you want to talk about this week.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick mention to Framing Britney Spears because there's been so much written about it, which is on Hulu, and it's from the New York Times. And, it's heartbreaking in a different way. And, Britney's going to be 40 this year, and her life has just been, just an absolute roller coaster, and almost sort of that sort of textbook kind of, superstar, emotionally wrought under the public eye kind of life. And actually, I've been writing about Judy Garland and Liza Minnelli this morning, writing a little piece. And I was thinking about Britney and Judy Garland, and I'm thinking there's some parallels there between, that sort of fragile performer, but a performer who can be so strong. And, it's well documented that Britney had this breakdown back in 2007. She shaved her head, and it was, this unbelievable cry for help that nobody seemed to hear. But at that point, she was put under a conservatorship, which meant that her father had all control over her estate. And if you think about it, that's now 14 years ago. And since that time, Britney, who's, mother of two, has toured, released records, done a Vegas residency, and, has worked. She's been a grown-up woman who's worked, and yet still doesn't have control over her estate and her money. And the show also looks at, the documentary, looks at, her treatment from the hands of, boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, her dad, the media, the media are horrible in this. To be honest, the media come out really, really badly. The tabloid culture was at its height. She really bore the brunt of that, and also her treatment at the hand of the courts. So it really is just a really sad story that here is this woman who's incredibly talented. And actually, I did see her perform in Vegas. I saw her show there. I think it was Hard Rock or Planet Rock, something with rock in it. I can't remember, one of those big hotels. And her dancing was amazing. She was great. And yet, you just feel that at the heart of it, there's this woman who's, almost trapped. She's in this sort of gilded cage. And I think she said now that she won't perform. I may be wrong, but I think she said that she won't perform until she has control over her life again, which, fair enough. She's 40 this year. So for forensic look at all of that.
It's an interesting production. It's a co-production with the New York Times, which I think is really interesting. And they have some of it. If you're a subscriber to New York Times like I am, you can watch part of it at their website. Britney Spears, boy, what a career. One of her first shows, I think it was her third or fourth show ever, was at the Orpheum Theater in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was a bartender there, and she was opening up for NSYNC. She was dating Justin Timberlake at the time, and it was her and two dancers, and they danced in front of the curtain because NSYNC had their big show set up behind the curtain. So they put a 8x10 poster on a thing that said Britney Spears, and they did like 3 songs, and within the year, she had blown up. And so people in the entertainment industry, they struggle, they get that thing that they think they've been chasing for. And I think she was 19 when she blew up and got really popular. And then the burden of that obviously can be incredibly daunting and incredibly heavy lift for a lot of people. And so, it sounds like, I haven't seen this project, but it sounds like it roadmaps that whole thing. Is that right?
It does exactly that. And also she was a child star. She was on the Mickey Mouse Club, also with Justin and Christina Aguilera, and I think Ryan Gosling was part of that as well. And it's just looking at that the way, and it's her. I'm sort of so obsessed almost with a type of celebrity, and there aren't many like Britney who become that level of famous. She really. It was around the time of the Spice Girls. It was that sort of era. It was like late 90s, and women performers were coming more to the fore. But she had that innocence. She had that strength. She had the look that every girl at school wanted to be. They wanted to be that cool. They wanted to be that control. And I think one of the guys in the documentary said it's like she had command of the hallways. And from that point onwards, and also she had great songs. That was the other thing. She had really great pop songs and great moves. And there's something, she just had that special, that's something that people really went for. And then it just tips a balance suddenly from, wow, this is an amazing rise to fame, to the photographers, the paparazzi crowding around her car, hundreds of them. It seems like hundreds of them, but even if there's 30 of them, that's 30 too many. You couldn't even go into 7-Eleven and pick up whatever, a bag of chips or something. So it's a really interesting look at that goldfish bowl, I think, and it is a shame, I think, that she has been, so I don't know, so traumatized by her fame. But it does seem to happen a lot, but hers on a scale, that very few reach. I think it's an interesting look at her life.
The main goal of the entertainment industry is to make it seem like it is an unattainable, glamorous life. And there certainly are portions of that. I've certainly never been famous, but I've been around enough of that and worked with folks that are and have that not Britney Spears level of success. But what's interesting is you think about, the struggle to get to that and all the competition, et cetera, then the struggle to hold on to it. But then also, you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to let people down. And that pressure, I think, is so much. And, the incident where she shaved off her hair, only she could answer for that. And I don't want to speak for her. But what's interesting about actions like that, it's like they're almost saying, I have to remove myself from this competition, from this game, from the pressure of always having to be on. the Ellen DeGeneres show is one of the more recent examples of, all of a sudden finding out, oh, Ellen maybe isn't the super most bubbly person in quote unquote real life. And you think about the pressure of doing a daily program that millions of people are relying on to be the best part of their day, to get the laughs, et cetera. And to think about, everyone says, oh, you can't look at her in the eye. And I'm thinking, well, if you work on a production where you've got a staff of 50 and the audience and all that sort of thing, to just simply be able to do your job, because every single person coming up to you wants something and they want to take and they want to get, it was as simple as a photograph, but also to engage, and you've had all this time to build up, here's what I'm going to say to this person. So, if you think about those things, another example is when the actor, who was the British actor who played Batman and had the big screaming fight with the
Christian Bale.
Yeah, Christian Bale. So that instance right there, when he goes, hey, you're standing in my eye line here. If you're going to talk, he was talking to the director of photography. If you're going to talk, just go somewhere else. This is really hard. And people are like, oh, Christian Bale's a mean guy. No, he's not, folks. Christian Bale's got a multi-million-dollar movie on his shoulders, and he's got to speak in a weird voice and da-da-da. And all he was saying is, I have to look here. It's my job to look here. If you're going to literally talk while I'm giving the best I can, all the reason the people are here, if you're going to talk, just go somewhere else. I mean, people don't really give, I think, the sympathy they might to celebrities and to folks in front of the camera. It's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think because most people obviously see the perks of the job and the private jets and the yachts and all that kind of thing. And I think especially, with Britney's situation, that definitely was what people would now look at as a mental health issue and probably look at more sympathetically. And, a picture of a bald woman coming towards you with brandishing an umbrella, is saying, I need some help here. I'm not doing good. I'm not doing good at all. And I think probably part of the reason the documentary is so interesting is looking at how times have changed in that way. But yeah, the absolute stress of having to keep an organization going once you've got all these people who are under your employ must be enormous.
And Lisa, I want to talk about your book really quick, and if you have a couple more minutes here. Ryan is ready for you now. It's a fantastic book. It is. What I love about it is its lightness. You are taking the trip as a reader with you to Los Angeles, and you're enjoying learning all these and meeting these people and learning the ins and outs. But how do you see the entertainment industry changing? So Gina Belafonte is going to be on this program. We're actually taping it later today. Her father, Harry Belafonte, legendary performer. Yeah. And so Gina's entire life has been surrounded by the biggest entertainers, the biggest politicians in the world. There's nobody bigger. And what we're talking about is how, the different, what do people expect from celebrities now? It seems like just maybe 10 years ago that, we didn't want to hear your political stances, etc. But now it almost seems like if you're going to get the perks of celebrity, you better be doing X, Y, and Z to earn it. How do you feel about how celebrity has changed during the time in your career?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, celebrities were just supposed to look good. I mean, if you go back to sort of Elizabeth Taylor's day, she just had to turn up looking stunning in ridiculous amount of jewels and, step out of the car, have a picture taken and go home. And that was that, that was all that was required. I think now you're right. I think, people in the public eye do have to appear to have a conscience. It's, some kind of social conscience. And, but then there's a tightrope to walk, because oftentimes, do I really want to hear what Julia Roberts thinks about, X, Y, or Z, or George Clooney thinks about this, that, or the other? I'm not sure I do. But at the same time, I think, especially with the generations who are coming up behind us, it's very important to them to know that they're investing in people who they can believe in. They're a lot more politically aware than, say, my generation, certainly my parents, maybe. Things change a lot. We had a big period of calm where you didn't really have to be politically aware, and I think now the younger generation most definitely are. They're clued in, and also I don't think they're as impressed by celebrity in the same way, because they're just a little bit more. They grow up quicker. They expect different things. And then also in the way that the nature of celebrity and the way it's presented now, you can be an influencer, you can be on an Instagram and have, a couple of million followers and really particularly not be anybody I even know, and still have that voice and have that kind of celebrity. So it's almost, I think they're walking a bit of a tightrope at the moment. And there's always going to be that level of celebrity who are sort of untouchable, the Jennifer Anistons, but even then, she can promote clean water or some kind of green something or another, and be eco-friendly, do this, do that. But there's some people who will go, oh, well, that's nice, I'm glad that she's putting her voice to this, and others will go, I don't really care, she's Rachel in Friends, and I just want her to be this actress that I just can watch and don't have to think about her political views. So it's interesting. It's definitely changing. And, social media has had a lot to do with that, and also the times that we live in.
You talk about social media. It's really the loss of the gatekeepers, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of media benefited from gatekeepers, but a lot of voices were obviously diminished.
Mm-hmm.
And now it seems like, and you can see this with the diminishing of ratings with the big award shows. The Oscars are getting the lowest ratings they get. It seems to be ticking downward. And I think you're right. What is celebrity? What does it mean? Is it the power of the megaphone? And what I don't think people maybe they do, but for me, it was a bit of a stark wake up call when I ran for Congress in California. That was the biggest my name ever got as far as a bold name in articles, etc. And what I thought was amazing, it was pretty, within an hour, I started getting emails, text messages about people angry about politics. And now all of a sudden, because I was a candidate,
Mm-hmm.
I got to receive a lot of that anger. Like,
Right.
oh, you're part of this now. I'm sure you're going to do this wrong and X, Y, and Z. And I was just an announced candidate at the time. And I thought that was really interesting. And people don't, you're a big movie star, you get to do X, Y, and Z. A lot of the private jets, a lot of that's just photos. A lot of the Instagram things are just setups to make look good photos, etc. But they don't maybe realize that the second you put that movie out there, there's people who literally their hobby, their goal in life is to write horrible things on the internet. Worst movie I ever saw.
Yeah.
Horrible things. It takes away a lot of the joy of actually being an artist to see all the armchair warriors out there who enjoy putting stuff down. So
Yeah, I always think today as well, with, as you say, with social media and celebrities having access to their own social media, that there are just publicists who are just having heart attacks on a minute by minute basis, because you can just see it happening. And we have this thing now called cancel culture, which means that you put a foot wrong and that's it, you're done. And there's very many examples of that. I won't bring anyone's names into it, but it's a thing. You say the wrong thing and that's it, you are cancelled, and you can undo years of good work. So I don't know why anybody wants to be famous. I think I've said this on the show before. I've no idea why anybody wants to be a celebrity. It just seems like an absolute shark-infested waters, to be honest with you. But I suppose you do have a nice house with a kidney-shaped swimming pool and seats in restaurants, should they ever open up again. I don't know.
Well, and you get that for a while, and I do know people who have broke through and become multimillionaires, and then worked out a version of reality so that they can keep a little bit of the money coming in and stepped away from it a little bit so they can enjoy the spoils. But it's a bit like going to Vegas. If you're on a hot streak, it's hard to step away from the tables. But and so much of it, and I look at, and I don't mean to, totally go over the other way saying, oh, you should really feel so much sympathy for these folks. But you look at Billy Ray Cyrus had a daughter, Miley Cyrus, and now Noah Cyrus is the youngest one. And I'm sorry, folks, I'm aging myself. I don't quite know all the names, etc. But I just saw a picture of her. I'm in the Producers Guild. I'm one of 3 members in Iowa of the Producers Guild. Woo! And they sent me they sent all Producers Guild members the program for the Grammy Awards. It's a big magazine, and since it wasn't a live thing, we got the program. It was kind of neat to read through it. But I said, Noah Cyrus, who's that? I mean, and I, I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with her music or what she's doing, but it said, oh, younger sister to Miley Cyrus. And my first reaction was I felt bad for her. And who am I? And she's probably having a great time in her life. And if she sees this, she can laugh at me and send me horrible notes. But the reason, it just felt like so much of that decision was out of her hands. Like she was being created, and maybe she said, oh, I want this and it's going to be great. But all those decisions, such a young person, that, you know, all of a sudden her life is now going to have a trajectory that so much of that is going to be out of her hands. And it, you know, once you get on that wave, to get there is one thing, to sustain it is another. And so anyway, you know, viewers of this show, I just, you know, I have sympathy for that. And, you know, a lot of times people get into it, you don't know what their motives are. Lisa, are you there?
I'm still here. What happened?
You know, the first time ever, I've got an unstable connection. I don't know what's going on. I mean, obviously it's local media trying to shut down the program because we're getting great viewers and it's great. But anyway.
Or it's Noah Cyrus just tuning in and waving a magic wand.
You know what I forgot to do, Lisa? I forgot to play the fancy intro for your show. I always forget.
I'm going to send you an email every day now and just remind you, and put a Post-it note on your computer or something.
Well, folks, I'm looking at the clock. It's 46 minutes in, so I guess we better let people get back to their lives. But Lisa, thank you so much. It's just, I do the show for many selfish reasons, one of which is I get to see your face without a mask on and have a conversation. So thank you for being on the show.
No, my pleasure. I will see you hopefully next week.
I love it. And folks, tomorrow, United Nations High Commission on Refugees is going to be on live from Guatemala. My goodness, so grateful that they're going to be on the program. So let's show the video that the United Nations High Commission on Refugees sent, and then we'll wrap up the show.
When the crisis raised, all my dreams has been destroyed.
Yo nunca pensé salir de mi país.
Ile yote ilituogopesha sana na mpaka hivi tulikimbilia mikono wazi.
Folks, thanks for watching the program today. Again, the folks from Nature of the Dream, thank you very much to them for being on the show. And there is the teaser for that, dmplayhouse.org. Buy your tickets, support this exciting event, you know, to turn a live theater show into a film, have then the local Playhouse distribute it on video on demand. That's all, that's called solving some problems, folks. You know, obviously right now the live theater world is suffering. Artists are not being able to share their ideas, but this show just figured out a way to do it, and all the way from Los Angeles. So anyway, check that out. And our guest coming up, again, I'm going to run through them quickly here, but Gina Belafonte, there she is with her dad, Harry Belafonte. They run Sankofa.org, will be on the show. The producer of this music video, Peter Gabriel, this is an update of his song, Biko. The producer of this international version of it is going to be on the program. State Representative Ross Wilburn is going to be on the show on the 1st of March, talking about what he's doing in the State House right now, just getting elected as the chair of the Iowa Democratic Party. And again, tomorrow, United Nations High Commission on Refugees live from Colombia with I don't know if they call it the station chief there, but she was raised in Ohio and has been working for United Nations now for a decade. So just very excited to have them on the program. And folks, we're going to run the ad for the School of Rock one more time and then close out the show.
School of Rock is now in session in Iowa, and we're ready to help make musicians. In our patented performance-based program, students learn music in one-on-one lessons, then have band practice in a fun, safe learning environment, all leading up to their big show. Guitar, bass, piano, drums, and vocals, our local professionals teach the skills you need to be a rock star. Come check us out and get a free lesson with no strings attached. Locations in West Des Moines and Marion. Visit schoolofrock.com to learn more and start your musical journey today.